Hey everybody, how we doing today? We are here. We're at the podcast. I want to thank everybody for listening. Got a lot of emails. I haven't done an email show in a while, or a message show, or whatever you want to call it, in a long time. I should have covered that up. Still working on the studio. Had a huge hiccup besides financial stuff, but I posted another picture on the website and on social media, so you can check out what it's looking like. Looks cool. But also snowstorms coming and getting ready. We've been slammed at work. Of course, by the time you listen to this, hopefully it's over. Supposed to, Texas always makes a big deal about everything. But we'll probably end up, these have strings. Oh, yeah. We'll probably end up getting something. I'm anticipating some school closures and all that. So I've had to focus at work lately. I threw everything into a loop because I was supposed to go out of town to help grand open a new store. I was going to be in a hotel for a couple days, and then that got pushed back. It's the first time the company's really, I don't know if it's the first time in history, but it's the first time I can think of where the company's actually pushed a grand opening back. I mean, that's something that Walmart does, Um, but, when it's a lot of people involved and a lot of money involved. So that was the situation there. Now I'm preparing, I was going to have a vacation week. And then go out of town for a couple days for work, and now I'm not sure. It all depends on Luke's school, and anyway, but it's all good because it's like in one aspect, like cool if he's home, okay, I got vacation time anyway. If I end up going to work and he only misses a day or so, and I end up going to work while he's in school, well then I save my vacation time. So anyway, lots going on, lots. I did a nice workout, just got out of the shower. I'm tired. Gonna be an early night tonight for sure. Thinking about, music and listening to some music and concerts. And I had some live tracks that I've been checking out. And then I watched some live footage of some bands. That was pretty cool. And it got me thinking about the Super Bowl coming up. I'm not, look, we know the Lions, they didn't do great. They didn't do bad for the Lions, but they did bad in comparison to what they should have done. Um, I'm still proud of them. I'm still happy with what they did. They beat the Cowboys, so, um, that's not saying much. But anyway, um, we got the Pats, we got the Patriots back in the Super Bowl. And then we got Matthew Stafford. That's probably where it hurts the most. I mean, good for Stafford, but I'm not going to pull for him. I'm also not going to pull for the Patriots. Like, I don't, like, anyway, I don't like the Rams. I don't like the Pats. Like, who cares? You know what I'm saying? Um, but it got me thinking about halftime shows. And obviously, Bad Bunny's going to be on the halftime show. Regardless of what anybody thinks, it's a smart move. I mean, if you look at what they've done in history, essentially, you look at, for the most part, you look at they're getting some of the biggest artists at the moment or of all time, whether it's like a legend or currently. And if you look at what Bad Bunny has sold out in concerts, you look at what he's done on the charts and how much his plays and streams and all that, it makes sense. Now, from a fan, I mean, no, I can't tell you that I'm out here banging out, rocking out to Bad Bunny, but I can tell you what, it's a vibe. In the movies I've seen him in, he cracks me up. It's 100% vibe, and I'm into it. The beats are sick, and that's all you need. Like for me, I can jam out. If I'm rolling up to a party and Bad Bunny's there, well, not at the party, but if they're playing and that's who's bumping it, I'm vibing. Music's music. I don't need to understand every lyric to appreciate it. And sometimes you need lyrics, and that's obviously I'm a lyric guy, so I focus on lyrics, but sometimes you just need the music to make the vibe and to make the beat and to make the moment. And I think Bad Bunny's on the hype train. I also think it's 100% genius, genius to do Bad Bunny right now with all the nonsense that's happening in the world. I think it's awesome. I do. Of course, people are like, yeah, he doesn't even speak English. I mean, like, can we get somebody from, I've seen so many comments. Can we get somebody from our own country? Bro, y'all are embarrassing me. But I get the choice. Jay-Z's behind that. So it makes sense. But I was thinking about not this Super Bowl. This isn't somebody to replace Super Bowl, Bad Bunny. This isn't like why I'm talking about like should have already performed by now, or as we look to future Super Bowls, who should be at the halftime show. And it's actually harder than it seems. And I say that because let's look at some of the standouts in my time. And I might be forgetting some. Number one, the Super Bowl after September 11th was emotional for a lot of reasons. And we had U2 perform. And whatever you think about U2, they were the right choice. They were that type of band, and they've made that sort of impact across the generations. And it made sense for what they did. I mean, Michael Jackson, obviously, Prince, to me, one of the greatest halftime shows in history, absolutely phenomenal. I mean, the dude made it rain during Purple Rain. It was like God was watching. He looked down and said, Prince needs some rain. Boom, rain. He was out there with electric guitar. I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to lip sync. I'm in my high heel shoes and I'm going to, dude, it comes up every conversation when we talk about Super Bowls and we talk about some of the greatest halftime shows. It's Prince. That was a good one. Of course, not too long ago, we had Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Kendrick Lamar, Eminem, and Mary J. Blige and 50 Cent. One of the coolest. I mean, they told Snoop Dogg not to crip walk. He crip walked. They told him not to wear crip colors. He wore crip colors. Throwing up sets, but also just pure music. It was great. The weekend, I understand why some people didn't like it. I liked it because he had his own thing. I'm not going to bring out a special guest, and he's had so many special guests on over the years and so many duets and all that. I'm going to focus on me as a solo artist and tell the story. I loved it. I loved who he hired. I love why he hired the dancers. I love everything about that. I thought it was unreal. And then Rihanna. Rihanna was pregnant. She out there with a big old belly going, I'm going to sing at the Super Bowl. And I was like, okay, Rihanna, you still good looking, obviously. So I'm going to watch you. And Rihanna did great. And then, of course, Kendrick Lamar last year. Why? Biggest artist, biggest beef, made perfect sense to have Kendrick Lamar at the Super Bowl. So when you look at these artists, and again, I know I'm forgetting some. I mean, there's been the Rolling Stones, not my favorite. Aerosmith has been on a couple times. Katy Perry was, but I know why they got her. You know what I mean? So you look at some artists, that on who's playing, and obviously Bad Bunny, again, not my favorite. I get it though. He's a vibe, and it makes sense. So you look at some of the artists over the years who should have played the Super Bowl at some point, or should go like next year and the year after. And I got to look at it. And I know I'm going to sound like one of those guys like, let's bring some rock and roll back. But let's look at it. Let's look at, guys like Metallica. That comes up all the time. And I don't know if they've been approached. It's appropriate that I'm wearing my Hellfire Club, R.I.P. Eddie. You can't see him on the back. But Metallica would be great. They are that like quintessential rock band that has gone from like touring with Guns N' Roses all the way to the Black Album to this to that, like, and come back full orchestra. There's so many things that they could do. They make sense. I think that would be a killer halftime show. I don't know if they've been approached. I don't know if they've said no, but I think that's one that you've got a short window to do something with, and I think it'd be cool. When you're looking at The Rock, and I know I'm going to get some hate for this because some people don't like them, but they're huge, and I've seen them in concert. Imagine Dragons. Imagine Dragons would be a killer halftime show because of the amount of songs that everybody knows, the commercial side, the rock side. I know it's kind of at times considered pop rock, but what they've done with Kendrick, what they've done with, like, they put on a show, energetic, pure. They've got enough material to make it happen. It's better than when Coldplay was there. Coldplay was a horrible, horrible halftime show. So I think that would be a cool one to do too. Speaking of Jay-Z, it's wild to me in a way that he hasn't done a halftime show. I mean, it's almost like if you're the head coach of a football team and your son's the quarterback, you put him in at everyone, all the time. It might be some unfair moments, but if the quarterback is that good, you put him in. Jay-Z still got it. And he could do what Dre did. He could bring a bunch of people, or he could say, nah, I'm just going to be Jay-Z. Go back to the Blueprint days and do some of that. I'm not against it. We saw what Snoop Dogg did on Christmas at the halftime show. That was amazing. I don't think that we need Snoop Dogg at the halftime show by himself now because he's already done it with Eminem and Dr. Dre. But Jay-Z, I mean, like, you got to kind of look at it and go, what other rap artist is going to do it on that level? Tupac's dead. Biggie's dead. Outkast won't come together. Wu-Tang Clan, that's not as big as Woo Up, as big as Wu is. That's not even a W, bro. There's a W. How do I do? Oh, there you go. Or you go like this and bit. What? I'm. Leave me alone. But Wu-Tang would be fun, but they're not going to do it. Now, I've heard a lot of people talk about country music, and I'm picky when it comes to country music, okay? I don't like a lot of country music, but there are country artists that I really like. Cody Jinks is one of my favorite artists, country-wise. And I think that you bring out Cody Jinks, you throw a Luke Combs in there. You're not going to get all the Red Dirt guys that we have down here in Texas. You're not going to get, Parker McCollum and Cole Wetzel, but you get kind of like a spotlight on country music. I could appreciate that. They're not going to do that. They're going to look at like Miranda Lamberts and those type guys. Willie ain't going to do it, and he's not going to put on a good show anyway. George Strait is not going to put on a good halftime show. I'm sorry that I've offended 95% of the country music artists out there and fans, but he's not. But I think if you looked at specific country artists, and Cody Jinks is big enough, but he's not globally as big enough, so that's not going to happen. But I think that would be the way that you'd have to look at bringing country music in. If it was the 90s, I mean, Shania Twain did it, I think. I'd have to go back and look. If it was the 90s country, you got Garth Brooks and all those guys. But I think that's the way you do country music, And then there's things like, okay, well, what if we just had like a mix of a genre of artists? They've tried that before. They had Nelly, they had Aerosmith, and they had Britney Spears all do it together. And it wasn't that great. They did Walk This Way, and Britney was there, and Nelly did Run DMC's part, but it just, it didn't work. You know what I mean? You got to look at some other artists too and think outside the box. Like, could Billie Eilish do it? She's big enough. Would it be a good halftime show? I don't know. I think Billie Eilish has a lot of talent. I don't like all her music, but I think she has a ton of talent, and I think there's some moments that she could definitely. God, my feet are so dry. She could definitely bring out some artists to kind of special guest with her, but I don't know. And now I'm going to flip it on you. I'm going to flip it. And people are going to get upset, and, white America is going to cry and be like, oh my God, why? But I'm going to tell you, this is who I think. I think you look at Blackpink, and you go international. I mean, look at the albums that are up for Grammys. Look at the songs. Look at the billboards on a group level and an individual level. I mean, from Jenny just came out, Lisa, Rosie, bro, she just came out with her and Bruno crushed it. I think you do Blackpink. I think you bring them out. They are one of the biggest groups internationally right now. K-pop's huge. K-pop Demon Hunters. I mean, I don't think they do a halftime show, but I ain't mad. I ain't mad at looking at them or watching them sing. They're good. They got great voices. But going back to Blackpink has the portfolio, or the library, I should say, and the catalog, if you will, of music and fans, and they've crossed. I mean, Jenny did something with Childish Gambino. She's done something with, God, who else did she do that track with that I like? not SZA. Was it SZA? I don't know. But she's done it with The Weeknd. Okay, look at what Lisa's done. Look at what Rose done. You know what I mean? Like, I think Blackpink should be next year. If somebody was to put a gun to my head right now and say, Brandon, you have to pick the Super Bowl person for next year, I'd be like Blackpink. It just makes sense. So I think that's something that you got to look at. And let's bring my boy back from Gangnam Style, bro. That was the closest we had to world peace, was when we were rocking out to Gangnam Style. I'm down, but that probably won't happen, and I'd be the only one. I wouldn't be the only one. Have you guys watched some videos of his concert, bro? Thousands and thousands of people just whooping Gangnam Style, dude. It's awesome, dude. But anyway, I digress. And there's a lot of other artists. I think, like, I know Bruce Springsteen did it. It was kind of boring. And I know puts on a show. He puts on like 3-4 hour show. He's old as dirt now, and he's got a catalog, but I don't think that's the way to go. I just don't think, you can't go. I mean, Taylor Swift is probably one of the obvious choices too. I'm not a Swiftie, but again, if you're looking at some of the biggest artists out there and who can take the stage, I mean, she's up there. She's definitely up there. And again, I don't know if they're waiting, if it's because she's dating, well, married or engaged to homeboy, to Kelsey, or if they've already had those conversations. See, that's the thing. There's probably a lot of conversations that have happened behind the scenes that we don't know about. There's a lot of negotiations and all that. And I start looking at like some R&B artists. There's just nobody. Like TLC should have been there back in the day. They should have had a TLC, Boyz II Men, Mariah Carey combo, or just TLC and Boyz II Men back in the day. Not now. I don't want to even look at Mariah Carey now. God. But I don't know who. And I'm looking at the rock side. Like I've got bands that I like. Like obviously I love My Chemical Romance. They're not doing a halftime show. OG Linkin Park, R.I.P. Chester, would be a killer halftime show, especially if they had done it with Jay-Z and Jay-Z came out and brought out Linkin Park. That would have been dope. But I don't want new. Foo Fighters are one. Foo Fighters are absolutely one that could rock out, despite everybody kind of being upset with Dave Grohl for those situations. And I get it. I mean, that's between him and his wife. But Foo Fighters, dude, they could do it. They could do a halftime show, and I'd be rocking out because I love me some Foo Fighters. I love me some Foo Fighters. That could be cool. You're not going to get guys like Rob Zombie there, dude. The NFL does not want Rob Zombie. Dude. They're gonna be like, what is this guy doing? Even though he puts on an awesome show and everybody knows the music for the most part, you're not going to have that. But even like people are like, oh, what about Childish Gambino? Yeah, it'd be great. Not going to happen. Tyler the Creator, not going to happen. Nobody wants Nicki Minaj anywhere except for Trump. He wants Nicki Minaj for some reason because it's anybody that can make him look good. That's what the situation is there, and we don't want her. Beyonce, yeah, okay, yeah, whatever. It's not exciting unless she brings back Destiny's Child full blown. But even then, I don't care. I start going through my Spotify and I start looking at my list, and there's, what about Eminem? Well, he was just there and he's not going to do it by himself. He don't want to. I think if Detroit was going to the Super Bowl, if the Lions were good, that would be the only opportunity to be like, all right, I'll come out. But he already did it with Dre. And one of the stipulations was, I'm bringing 50 Cent with me. I'm bringing 50 with me. If I can't bring 50 with me, I'm not doing it. And Dre's like, of course you can bring 50 with me. So they did. As far as some other artists go, there's some great artists in the world that could be part of the Super Bowl. And like I said, if you had 2 or 3 different acts in that short window of when they're doing the music and the setup, because it's a real fast, somebody said Dolly Parton. If she was, look, she's 190. If if you could bring her, I mean, I saw her at the Cowboys halftime show. Great to see her, but if you brought her in and as part of the country arc, and maybe as like the end, like, hey, here's this artist, this artist, this artist, and Dolly Parton comes out, okay, that's big enough. But I think they're going to start, which is why I think Jay-Z, who puts the Super Bowl halftime show together, is doing such a good job because he is picking artists that make sense. Bad Bunny makes sense right now. Okay. Kendrick makes sense. The Weeknd made sense. Rihanna made sense. Follow it. I don't know what 2027, 2026 is going to look like in the music scene. I don't know if there's going to be an artist blow up. Like Sabrina Carpenter is not going to do a halftime show. She could be part of it, but other than, no offense, just looking at her, I don't really care. It doesn't appeal to the mass. You're not going to get Sabrina Carpenter before you get T Swift. It just ain't going to happen. So you got to look at some other artists out there. And we're not going to go deep and start digging up the bones. You're not going to be like, hey, bring Queen with Adam Lambert. I'm like, would it be fun? Yeah, but it's not Queen. Freddie Mercury's dead. No offense to Adam Lambert, but no. You know, bring Deadmau5, do electronic music festival. You know, Daft Punk, Deadmau5, Nine Inch Nails. I would enjoy that. A lot of people would enjoy that, but that's not a Super Bowl NFL thing. It just ain't going to be that way. So they're not going to do it. You know, there's a lot of artists. I love Mumford and Sons, but could they do it? Yeah. Would it make sense? Not so much. It just doesn't fit the vibe. You know, there's a lot of artists out there that I listen to that I really enjoy, but Green Day, who's going to be opening up doing the pregame, could do a Super Bowl show. Green Day is that band that is, I started listening to Green Day when I was in 8th grade. That's when Dookie came out. That was their first album, Do you have the time to listen to me rhyme? Like, dude, bro, I'm into Green Day. And I love the development of where they've gone. I love how they speak, what they are. And I think that would be cool because it's always been a stage to give a message at times. Mostly, not all the time, but Coldplay, U2, Kendrick. Kendrick gave a lot of messages beyond what he told Drake. He gave a lot of messages. And if you go back and watch that, he was telling us all something. But Rihanna had messages too, and she was just performing. So Weeknd did a message by how he set up his show. So I think Green Day would be killer as a full-blown halftime show. I just don't think it's going to happen because they're doing the pre-show. Red Hot Chili Peppers would be dope. I just have there's the thing with Anthony Kiedis and who he's dating and all that. It's kind of weird, but they got a portfolio. And dude, they've been doing it since the late 80s. And Red Hot Chili Peppers have a killer portfolio, a killer catalog of hit after hit. From Under the Bridge to Californication to, just all over the place. So those would be cool. They would be a good halftime show, God, if Stone Temple Pilots, if Scott Weiland was still alive, STP would put on a killer show. Pearl Jam. I know it sounds crazy, but everybody knows Pearl Jam. I don't think that works right now, though. Had you done like an alternative thing with Pearl Jam and Stone Temple Pilots, maybe, but it's not going to work. Somebody told me the other day, like, what about Rage Against the Machine? Bro, I love Rage Against the Machine, okay? But it would be awesome. But we saw what they did when the BBC told them not to drop the F-bomb. They dropped the F-bomb like 19 times. So if the Super Bowl says, hey, man, you guys can't do that, guess what? But that's just so corporate. And they would have the biggest stage of all to get their message out there, but it would never happen because of that, because of the message they're trying to give. It's a reach that they got Green Day going right now because Green Day is going to say some stuff, but they're on for this window and they're not in the halftime show where Bad Bunny's going to be. So I don't know. I just think that they are going to have to start looking at different options for Super Bowl because you don't always get those mega artists. You don't always get the Kendricks and U2s and Prince and Michael Jacksons. We're never going to get another Michael Jackson. We're never going to get another Prince. We're just not. Those guys are some of the elite and in so many ways. And we're blessed enough to have them and see them perform multiple times, but also see them at the Super Bowl that we're not going to come around to that. So you either go back and you get somebody that you already had, or you got to start thinking outside the box. So it's going to be interesting to see. I did not see, I mean, it made sense. And they announced Bad Bunny early. They announced Bad Bunny really early. Because I was like, who's going to follow up with Kendrick, you know? And they announced Bad Bunny. So I think they announced that back in like December or maybe November. So I'm really hoping that we have some ideas. Otherwise, I think you either got Taylor Swift, you look at Billie Eilish. I mean, Bruno could do it again, but it's too soon, and he did great. You go with a country route, like I talked about. I mean, they could just give it to Green Day, but I don't think they will. Metallica, I don't think is going to do it. So it's going to be real interesting to see what happens. But I'll be watching. Like I said, I'm excited about the trailers. I'm excited about the movie options, the commercials. I don't really care about the game. I'll watch a little bit. We're just going to hang out and eat and stuff. And I'll watch the halftime show just to hear the vibe and party, because I think it's going to be a party and I'm all about it. Don't care about the game. We'll see. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if there's somebody I'm forgetting, because I'm sure there is. And let me know if you're going to watch the halftime show. Don't forget to follow me on all social media. TikTok's acting like a bunch of little jerks right now. That's because the U.S. government bought it. I want China back. Come on, China, come back. We didn't want to break up with you, China. It was the government's fault. So anyway, tune in next week, Life of an Average Show podcast. I believe next week I got the special guest coming. I have a movie director coming that I've been talking to. He's got several movies out or coming out, two of them that we're going to discuss. Pretty excited about that. I think that drops next week. So until next time, let me know.